I'm going to begin by doing a reading from The Language of Letting Go, the meditation book for codependency. And I picked tomorrow's reading, which to me is one of my favorite readings in the book. Gratitude. Say thank you until you mean it. Thank God, life, and the universe for everyone and everything sent your way. Gratitude unblocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. Turns denial into acceptance, chaos to order, confusion to clarity. Can turn a meal into a feast, a house into a home, a stranger into a friend. Turns problems into gifts, failures into successes, the unexpected into perfect timing, and mistakes into important events. It can turn the existence to a real life, and disconnected situations into important and beneficial lessons. Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. Gratitude makes things right. Gratitude turns negative energy into positive energy. There's no situation or circumstance so small or large that is not susceptible to gratitude's power. We can start with who we are, what we have today, apply gratitude, and then let it work its magic. Say thank you until you mean it. If you say it long enough, we'll start to believe it. Today I will shine the transforming light of gratitude on each and every circumstance in my life. I wanted to share that reading because whenever I get into this part of the recovery process, I mentioned to you last week about writing a composition entitled My Fantasy Family. There's a reason behind that. Not that I'm going to call on you, so relax. But the bottom line is, what I have learned is that sometimes if we allow ourselves to go to our imagination, to go into a different world, we can learn a lot of things about ourselves as people. I've learned over the years to get my needs met very many times, I need to be able to sometimes use the idea of creativity and the idea of my imagination. In doing the fantasy family, what you are doing is you're identifying your needs, not even knowing you're doing it. That's the good part. Because codependents, we have a tendency to always function up here. We're always trying to control, figure it out, analyze it. So we tell you to let yourself be a child, let your feelings out. You feel those feelings. A lot of growing will take place. Give you an example. In my own life, when I did my fantasy family, I wanted a mom that would give me distance, to allow me to be a little boy, to allow me to experience new things in my life. I wanted a dad that would do the normal things that dad did with his son. Have a catch, go to a ball game, the little things in life. I had no siblings, so when I did my fantasy family, I wanted a lot of siblings. The reason behind that was I was always lonely and by myself. I want to be able to be connected to others. And so family is an important thing for me. What I didn't realize was I needed to be able to work on those things, my needs. One of my basic needs I learned from my fantasy family was I need space and I need time. I can't always be around people all the time. I have to learn how to set boundaries. My fantasy home I wanted to live on was a beach house and my closest neighbor about a half a mile away. So I'd have a lot of peace, a lot of quiet, a lot of tranquility. That's one of the needs I search for every day. The other need I realized too was I need to be able to connect with people. So I learned a technique in doing this as part of the self-parenting process. See, self-parenting simply means to be able to meet the two sides of ourselves as a person, the adult in us and the child in us. We have both. I have to be able to understand the importance of nurturing that child And that's where I have to learn how to parent that child. Be able to get my needs met of things I had a hard time with in the course of my journey in life. And so I realize today I've got that power. I'll give you some examples of this because one of the ways to get our needs met, we use a technique called the surrogate technique. And it's kind of interesting. I remember a young couple that came to see me one time. I was working with them. They were both from Narcotics Anonymous, and they were getting married. I was going to perform their wedding. So I was doing my preparation work with them, and they came in one day and they said to me, they said, Vince, we're so confused. Our two families are, they want this, they want that, they want these people, those people, the other people. They want us to do it this way. It's not what we want. I said, I'll tell you what to do. Go in the other room. I gave him a yellow pad. I said, I want you to create on paper your fantasy wedding. Make believe both your families don't exist. Create a fantasy wedding on paper. He said, is that a waste of time? I said, no, just do it. They came back later and gave me a copy of what they wrote. I read it and I said, you know what? This is your wedding. Really? I said, yeah. Because this is you. This is what you want. Not what your families want. But a little bit of nervousness, we put it together. We did the wedding. I based the wedding on the principles of the 12 steps. And then for the reception, the two of them, instead of doing the normal things you do in a reception, the two of them got up and they both shared their recovery stories. There wasn't a dry eye in the place. They loved every minute of it. There was no alcohol. It was a beautiful, beautiful day. But it was their fantasy. It was their gift. It was what they wanted. We all have a hard time with this because so many times we're caught up in what somebody else wants. But I have to learn how to take care of yourself. And that's part of self-parenting. To nurture and take care of yourself as a person. Another example of surrogate, something I did. My father died early in my life. I never got the opportunity to do some of the things I wanted to do with him. So when I began to do a lot of this work, I did something I always wanted to do. I asked a good friend of mine, who's a therapist at Starting Point, I asked him if he would be my surrogate dad. So together, we planned a trip to Cooperstown to the Hall of Fame. We spent 4 days there. We even got the opportunity and got permission to have a catch on Doubleday Field. To me, it was like a dream come true. I always wanted to do that with my dad. And so I had brought my surrogate dad with me, somebody I could share it with, somebody I felt close to. It's interesting when we get into this process of learning to take care of ourselves. We have to make some decisions. We may not like all the decisions, but we can ask for help and get guidance and get direction. A lady called me one time back in 1989, and she said, Vince, I'm going to ask you a favor. I said, what? She said, well, I'm getting married, and I made a decision. I'm not inviting my father to my wedding. My father came to my sister's wedding and just about destroyed it. He was so drunk that he literally embarrassed everybody. I'm not inviting him. Would you do me a favor? Would you be my surrogate dad? I said, that sounds interesting. So I said, okay, I'll give it a try. So I went there, I got dressed up. I actually walked her down the aisle, gave her away. Got to dance with her to Daddy's Little Girl. I got to spend time just enjoying the moments. I may never get that opportunity with my own children because I have stepchildren. But the bottom line is, it was a great experience. But she had to make a decision. This is the hardest thing for so many of us. That's what I talk about. We have a wounded child inside of us. That wounded child is trying to teach us that it's okay to heal. It's okay to do things that are good for you. It's okay to make changes in the course of your life. Do you need help and guidance in doing it? Yes. And that's why that concept of sometimes when you feel like you really want to do something, sit down, write it out on paper. It's your fantasy. You're allowed to do it. And get help. Ask people to help you, to guide you, to be with you. Because I know one of the hardest things to do is to learn how to parent that child. See, remember, there's a little wounded child inside of us. That child may have a lot of hurt and a lot of pain. So maybe we need to be able to help that child. And one of our jobs is to identify. And I'll show you how we're going to do this when I do family of origin work and inner child work. See, this is all about healing. It's all about being able to start taking care of ourselves as people. And it's okay to make decisions that are actually healthy for you in your life. You realize after a period of time, this is not easy to do. And yet, it's okay to do it. And that self-parenting thing connects with the aspect. So what am I doing in self-parenting? I'm identifying my needs, learning how to get them met, also learning how to be able to heal and make peace with the past, and realize I am a product of the past. Take a minute and visualize a mosaic. And in the mosaic, there are all types of situations and experiences you've gone through in your life. You can try this. Get a blank piece of paper and then draw little squares for a mosaic. The first square is you being born. Then your parents are part of that square, or any other surrogate parents. School is part of that. Church, all these things. All these little squares of things in our life that we've experienced. And some of those squares may have some rough edges on them. They need to be taken care of and worked on. And that's the work we'll do when we do inner child work. But I have to realize it's not about finding out what's wrong. It's about fixing the edges on the squares so they'll fit into the quilt we're making. It's a process of developing a beautiful mosaic and putting it together. And in life, nothing happens by accident. All the situations that occur in your life, each and every one of them, are part of your teachers and part of your life. As you build these squares and look how your life has developed, you know, when you're my age, you got a lot of squares. This is basically how many people have experienced things you've gone through. Relationships, some that worked, some that didn't work, changes you had to make. Each square has a piece of your journey and a piece of your life. The important thing is, how do I fine tune those squares, those pieces of my life, so I can look at them in a positive way and see how they've helped me to grow and become the person I am today. It's a process we have to help work ourselves through, so we can begin then to relate to them. Now, along with that, we have to learn a principle, which is so important. It's part of the affirmation process. The principle is, we don't want you to do any of your family of origin work or your inner child work unless you're willing to do it with a positive attitude. See, this is not about finding out what's wrong with you. It's being able to work on and develop the things that are positive and beautiful in your life. Because I'm such a firm believer that from every negative comes a positive. From every negative, we learn something new. There's two sides to all things in life, and that's part of our learning process. So in doing affirmations, we have to learn how to reprogram ourselves. I never truly understood this, but it's just interesting. I never realized how much I was programmed to think negatively. You know, I joke a lot about a lot of stuff, but as a child, what did I learn? I learned fear, guilt, dependency. I learned to be able to literally try to make sure I was in control all the time and did the things I was supposed to do. I basically never really had a sense of who I was as a person. And so what I'm learning is that as I get older, as I grow, as I work through recovery and stuff to this effect, I'm starting now to develop a good sense of myself as a person. But because we've experienced so much negative stuff, we have to learn how to reprogram our mind to think positively. You know, one of my favorite books is The Power of Positive Thinking. To look at life in a positive way. To open the door up to experience new things in the course of your journey. There is something positive from every negative. Growth can come from it. If we're willing to go through the healing process of what was, and to be open to whatever will be in the near future. And that's an important piece. And the more we do that, the more we continue to grow as people. And so we learn how to do affirmations. Now, there are some simple techniques, and really what this process is, it's called, I want to re-brainwash myself to be able to think positively instead of negatively. That's why I picked a reading from today. It talked about, say thank you. Say it until you mean it. Have an attitude of gratitude. And be able to practice this until you mean it. It comes down to being able to not just say things for the sake of saying them, but to be able to open the door and realize I need to get my needs met. And so I need to be able to reprogram myself in a positive way. So you got to learn positive stuff. Little techniques and ways of doing this. One of the things I share a lot is I tell people, if you want to have the adventure of your lifetime, ask two people that you feel comfortable with to write you a letter telling you everything they like about you. Now remember, nothing negative. Tell them to write everything they like about you. Then after you've done that, write a love letter to yourself, telling you all the beautiful, fantastic things that you are deep down inside. Whether you believe it or not, do it anyway. That's the important piece. So as I begin to open up, I begin to realize I can do this. And so literally what I'm doing is I'm now beginning to find out good stuff about me. Once you get those letters and you read them, you better have a box of tissues next to you. I guarantee you, you're going to start crying. You see, people see the beauty in us before we see it. Why? Because we've constantly been connected to negativity. And now we got to open up the door to positive areas of life. And that's scary. It's called change. It's a big part of it. So literally, I have to be able to begin this whole process. And also writing a love letter to myself, telling me all the things I like about me. In the beginning, it's very uncomfortable. And yet, it's important. You know, one of the things I've learned over the years is called doing affirmations. And one of the things I have connected in doing this process, I put down a list of 15 different words. I don't know if we have that in on Vince's Corner. I think we do. The affirmation list is there. Right, Loretta? Okay. So basically we can go to the, and what I've done is I've put 15 different words down for you to write a positive affirmation about. For example, one of the words is safety. So therefore, an affirmation would be, I am a very safe and peaceful person. See, you don't bring anybody else into it, just you. The easiest one is love. I love myself. I celebrate myself. I see the beauty in myself as a person. These are all ways of doing affirmations. And what I recommend that you do is get a hold of that list by going to Starting Point's website under Vince's Corner. You go to the alternative resources. And as you pick the affirmation list up, write an affirmation for each of those words.
Vince, it isn't there, but we'll get it there.
Okay, well, it's not there now. We'll get it put in. I have a copy here I can give you.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. And again, the letters go along with it. See, keep feeding yourself positive stuff. Even when you're not feeling good. Sometimes it's good just to sit still. Smell the roses. Enjoy the people around you. Take a break. Take care of yourself as a person. It's something Loretta and I were talking about earlier. And I'm beginning to do a little bit more of it, but I have to do a lot more of it. But sometimes, with codependency, we have a tendency to want to overdo. And I always say, not me, but yes, it is me. I have to be able to somehow back off and be able to set more boundaries, take care of myself as a person. It's funny sometimes how we think we can do more than we can do. You never know what's going to happen to you. A good friend of mine, I've known him for years. Some of you may know him, Dr. Gottlieb. He used to have a radio show. Beautiful man, he's paraplegic. I knew him before he had his accident. Way back. We're going back a lot of years now. Over in Southwest Philadelphia. Anyway, he taught me something. Because every year he used to bring me to do a retreat, a one-day retreat for paraplegics. And one of the gentlemen I met, one of the paraplegics, did this every day, he told me. He gets in front of a mirror with his chair, props himself up, looks in the mirror, and he tells himself every day, I am special, I am beautiful, and I am loved. He's been doing that for years. But he says the more he does it, the more he believes it. So it's not about his body and how his body looks. His body's contorted. But it's about the inside, the spirit, the energy inside of us as people. And that's why it's so important in doing affirmation work, is to begin with you. To begin to affirm yourself in a positive way. To acknowledge your positive qualities. To be able to realize your potential and your beauty. We have spent too much time, so many of us, myself included, putting ourselves down, looking at ourselves negatively. Not realizing the potential and the beauty all of us have inside of ourselves. It's like unlocking a door. I describe codependency in a very simple way. Just think quick. I describe codependency. Now visualize this. Visualize yourself getting put into a jail cell. You go into the cell and you close the door. Now, as codependents, we're not dumb. So I bring the key with me and I lock the door from the inside. Then I hold the key in my hand so nobody can see it, and make sure there's a window in my jail. Then I yell out the window all day long, help me, help me, help me. And literally, I want everybody else to come and take care of me and help me. Because poor me, I'm stuck in this jail. Then after a period of time, nobody comes. Now I've got to face something. I got to open my hand, take the key that I already have. I have to unlock the jail cell and begin the journey out of it. So many of us have been trapped in that negativity world for so long. We look at life that way because the world we live in, don't get caught up in it because it can be extremely negative. I have to be able to realize there's so much more to life, so many more things to experience and to do. And that's where we have to be able to open up a new door. And so the more I'm able to unlock and go out there and become responsible for taking care of me, now we're back to self-parenting. I am responsible for nurturing and taking care of myself as a person. I cannot blame another human being. I am responsible for my journey. I'm responsible for my love life. I am responsible for the people I'm sharing it with. All these things are part of my journey. And if I truly, truly, truly want to be able to experience what life is really supposed to be, I have to be able to shed that skin. It's almost like the snake getting rid of the skin, or the butterfly becoming, the caterpillar becoming the butterfly. You know, it's beautiful to break out of that old mold that kept me buried in negativity for so long and begin to walk my journey forward as a positive person, doing positive things for myself as an individual. And that's what's important. That's the key. And to realize the fact that, yes, I'm going to make mistakes. But I'm going to look at my mistakes and learn from them and grow from them. And let them be my teacher. Just to be open to new things and new directions. That's all part of it. And I realize over and over again in the course of my journey in life that it's really important to open up new doors. We also get stagnant very many times because I'm going to keep everything just the way it is. Well, who knows? There's so much more out there. Maybe the doors will open to a new direction. Now, Loretta and I talk about this. The board of directors is talking about it, to look at new ideas and new directions for the future. Even though we know the future is unknown, but we have to be able to do our footwork, our due diligent work, and try to be open to where things are going to lead us. That's one of the reasons why I emphasize the affirmation process, and I emphasize the other process, the process of self-parenting. Another good affirmation is exactly that. You know, I'll tell you a story. A teacher that came to my lectures picked up on this affirmation thing I was saying. So she went to her classroom, put a full-length mirror in her classroom. She had first graders. And she told them, I want you to come in every day. You have to walk in front of the mirror, look at yourself and say, you're special, you're beautiful, and I love you. So at first the kids would go, especially when they're all the way around and they run. Second day, they kept doing it. She was very patient. She said, Vince, did you know, after 6 months of doing that in the classroom, those kids will come in now and fight to get in front of the mirror. They became so comfortable with it. And they would stand in front of that mirror and keep saying, I'm special, I'm beautiful, I'm loved, look how great I am. And she says, oh my God, she said. See, it does work. As adults, sometimes we're a little dense, so we have a hard time getting it to really work. We've got to keep at it. That's how affirmations work, by being steady at them, working at them constantly. So I want you to understand something about self-parenting and something about affirmation work. Self-parenting is not complicated. It simply means inside of me, as there is inside of you, there is a little wounded child who is aching and searching for love, for direction, for a place to move forward. If I can just help that little child to bend, to heal, to be able to release the negative things that went on inside of it, so I can begin now to share them in a positive way. That means the adult in me has to be strong enough to listen to my hurts and my pains and to help that child and not run from that child. See, so many of us have a tendency to want to run from life instead of facing life. And that's why it's so important. Try to open up this door to see where it'll take us. And so self-parent is a beautiful concept. There is a book, a very special book, called The 12 Steps to Self-Parenting. You'll notice in that particular book on the steps, they talk a lot about letting go of control, letting go of fear. Right away, we say things like, you want me to go buy this book? No. You can look at it online, whatever you want to do, but to me, the concept is, the more I can look at life positively and see life positively, the more I can grow as a person, the more I can become more connected. And that's why it's really important as we begin to do family of origin work and get ready for that, to be able to simply and beautifully take the time deep down inside to let go of the past, be open to the future, and enjoy the moment. It's in this spirit that I'm going to be able to pray today and ask God to bless us and guide us on our journey, to help us be able to understand the beauty of healing and the beauty of growing. Let us pray. God, we come before you in prayer. We say thank you, the God of our understanding, the divine presence. Thank you with gratitude so much for everything on the journey of our life. Help me to build this mosaic of life. Help me to realize that every experience, everything I went through, was to help me and bring me closer to you, to help me to grow, to experience the gift that I am, to realize deep down inside that you will walk with me. We think of that beautiful poem, Footprints in the Sand. And as you walk along, God walks us alongside of you. And whenever you hurt or go through changes, all you got to do is turn and grab God's hand and just simply say to him, help me, and help will arrive. Maybe not the way we want it to arrive, Lord, but it will arrive, I know. And that's why we have to pray today for faith, for trust. We pray for the gift of gratitude, for the gift of love, and to be able to share these gifts with all the people that we meet. So thank you so much for letting me be part of the journey, this beautiful journey in growth, Lord. We pray and we ask this in this guidance, in this direction, and we ask for it in your name. Amen.